They say there are two kinds of people in this world. Those who find themselves, and those who create themselves. Are you looking for purpose, or deciding it for yourself? Will you plunge waiting for someone to catch you, or will you jump and build your wings on the way down? Seek a path, or carve a path. Wait for the future, or build it. What is a school but a set of walls waiting for greatness? And who are you but someone destined to achieve it? Here, between the street and the jungle, against time and tide, we push and pull just like the currents. Our ocean of dreams will meet the odds ahead and rise above it all.
The University of Guam Center for Island Sustainability leads and supports the transition of our island region toward a sustainable future through research, education, protection and preservation, growth, partnerships, and inspiration. Follow us on our journey to creating a sustainable future for our island and our world.
Welcome to the 7th and final week of the University of Guam virtual conference series on island sustainability. I'm your MC, Lauren Swaddell, the Guam Green Growth Coordinator from the University of Guam Center for Island Sustainability. As UOG's 11th conference continues, we are honored to be connecting islanders and their allies together with our virtual series. We conclude the series by welcoming university presidents and capacity builders from across the globe as we focus on the theme of achieving a sustainable global future through quality education and capacity building in 2 panels. Our panelists today will share the different approaches they're taking to prepare students and their communities to engage in sustainability solutions. And as usual, we'll have a 30-minute virtual networking reception at the end. Now, let's get started with week 7.
Long ago on Guam, the center of the island was mysteriously wasting away. It was soon discovered that a giant fish was eating the land. The strongest men went out to sea to search for it, but over time could not find the fish. The women gathered together to help. They cut off their hair and wove it into a large net. They sang songs to lure the giant fish out of hiding and captured it. The men helped bring in the fish for a feast. Together, they saved Guam and secured its future for generations to come. Islands are not isolated. This is just one story of island wisdom that teaches we must all work together to face the threats to our planet and our future. Join the University of Guam virtual conference series on island sustainability as we present the theme, Island Wisdom for a Global Future.
Now I'd like to introduce Kathleen Moreland, the Executive Director of the Research Corporation of the University of Guam. Kathleen has worked in higher education since 1990 at both the University of Guam and Guam Community College in various positions. Kathleen will be moderating our first panel on capacity building. But before we get to her, we'll show you a quick clip of some of the University of Guam's capacity building efforts.
That's just one example of our capacity building programs here at the University of Guam, and that's called NSF Includes. It's now a much larger program, Island Alliance, which you'll hear about shortly. And in addition to this, we have many other capacity building activities at the university. NSF EPSCoR, of course, includes NSF LSAMP, the NIH Build Exito program, which is run through the School of Health here at the university in partnership with Portland. And we do have a couple of other things that we've had for many years. We've got the NAPIRI program, and this is students were able to travel to Costa Rica and to go to the Las Cruces Biological Research Station, which was very exciting for them. And we also have the Step Up program, and that is through the National Institutes of Health, the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Research program. We have so many exciting things for students, and I think this is really something that I've seen increase over my almost 2 decades at the University of Guam. And you're going to hear a lot more about these programs in just a minute. Our students also go to SACNAS. You'll hear about more about that from our panelists. And I have to say that the Research Corporation, we sponsored travel the last couple of years for several of our students to attend that conference. We have the NSF REUs around the country, and we also have more undergraduate fellowships and so on. So it's something that we build at the high school level all the way up through the graduate level. And it really starts through our science fair, which has been going on for more than 40 years. And it's hosted here at the University of Guam. And Austin and Dr. Frank Camacho run that now, that competition. And that really, for many children, it's their first exposure to STEM. And so we build up from there. And we would like to see more partnerships and more of these programs. So let's go on to that was just a little bit of what we've had at the University of Guam, what we have now. And I want to introduce our panel. We have with us Dr. Carlos Crespo from Portland State University, Dr. Kå'eo Duarte from Kamehameha Schools in Hawaii, Dr. Kristin Wilson Grimes from the University of the Virgin Islands, and Dr. Sonia Zarate from SACNAS. Before I invite them to the screen, let's take a look at some of their efforts. That was a nice set of slides there. Thank you very much. And again, welcome to the Center for Island Sustainability Conference this year. This is the 11th year. The first one of the panelists I'd like to introduce is Dr. Carlos Crespo. He is a professor in the Oregon Health and Science University and Portland State University Joint School of Public Health and Vice Provost for Undergraduate Training in Biomedical Research at Portland State University. Dr. Crespo is also the Principal Investigator of the PSU Build Exito Undergraduate Research Training Program funded by the National Institutes of Health, making PSU a center for innovation that supports undergraduates, including those from diverse backgrounds, on their pathways to become scientific health researchers. Welcome, Dr. Crespo.
Thank you.
Tell us more about Build Exito. How are you engaging and preparing youth with skills to create a sustainable global future?
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. It's a real pleasure. I'm actually an island boy from Puerto Rico also. So one of the things that we did with Build Exito was to identify places where students are able to pursue their curiosity about research. And one of the things that we know is that research and science, it's better when you have a variety of people with different backgrounds and experiences. What we aim to do with Build Exito was to provide that pathway for students early in their entry in college to identify a long-term, hands-on research experience. One of the things that we know is that when the students are engaged in something that they actually have an interest in working on, they're more likely to remain in school, they're more likely to complete school, and they're more likely actually to seek graduate school. And we achieve that by identifying a multi-tier mentor program. So they work with a peer mentor. They also work with a faculty who advise and provide career mentorship. But they also work long-term with a research mentor. And these three different types of mentor, they provide a variety of supplemental education that the students are able to take advantage of as they pursue graduate school. Our partnership is with University of Guam, but also with Northern Mariana College, American Samoa Community College, and also with the University of Hawaii and Alaska. And we also partner with the Oregon Health Science Universities, where there are a variety of research mentors who do state-of-the-art research, and that's basically what they do all the time. And they have been graciously happy to take students to be mentored. And then we also identify other research mentors in Guam, in Alaska, in Hawaii. So students who do not have the opportunity to transfer to Portland State are able to participate in long-term research mentorship in their home university.
Thank you. As somebody who hires a lot of recent college graduates, I mean, I can't stress how important it is to have these research experiences, because it really shows the work that they've done on their resume when they've had these research experiences. So thank you for all of the work that you're doing with UOG and the School of Health and all of your other partners. I'd now like to introduce Dr. T. Kå'eo Duarte, and he is the Vice President of Community Engagement and Resources at Kamehameha Schools. Kå'eo's group oversees Kamehameha Schools' community-facing resources and initiatives in 9 regions statewide, leading both INA and educational portfolios to unify and elevate people, programs, and lands for more effectiveness and impact. This includes more than 360,000 acres of agricultural and conservation lands, community resource centers, and sustainability initiatives. He is also the chairperson of Hawaii Green Growth UN Local 2030 Hub, which develops local solutions to global sustainability and challenges, building on island culture and values. Welcome. Tell us about what you're doing with Kamehameha Schools. How are you engaging and preparing youth with the skills to create a global future, a sustainable global future?
Hi, aloha, thank you for having me. I believe the journey to a sustainable global future and in our K-12 education and education efforts is really a journey of well-being, and is rooted in relationships as a Native Hawaiian institution. So journey is a well-being of place and people, of relationships with place and people. And therefore, the best way to ensure the next generation creates a resilient, sustainable future is to ensure the education journey builds firm relationships, and hence deeper understanding with themselves, with their families, with their communities, and with the places and contexts they live in. And to be sure, when I say family, I mean to our extended family who live in our oceans, our forests, our rivers, and our soils. So if you have a deep relationship with your place and extended family, it is highly likely you will respect it, cherish it, care for it. You tend not to destroy something you're deeply connected to. So we need to do this through a more expansive view of education that is oriented to place and culture for learners of all ages, preschoolers to adults, reactivating the original classroom of lands and ocean landscapes, and to life and career-connected learning contexts. So here in Hawaii, we're linking traditional Hawaiian learning spaces to the more accepted conventional learning institutions, intentionally blurring the lines between campuses and communities, connecting to practitioners as expert teachers, and to work in project-based learning. The application of learning by doing is fundamental to both mastery and innovation. So in addressing these education systems, we also need to acknowledge the larger social justice and socioeconomic issues so that our kids are prepared for learning with full tummies, happy hearts, curious, and ready to engage. So while we're not there yet, one other thing we're trying to do with others is how do we change our outcomes for our learners and for our teachers that expand beyond just outcomes around academic test scores, outcomes and measures that reflect the desire for well-being of people in place. So we can help change the culture of educating our kids, no matter their subject area interest or career trajectory. So really, for us, is about going back to and blending traditional frameworks of learning, which, to be clear, are fully embracing of innovation, technology, adaptation, and change. So we believe that in educating our future generation, if they feel, see, taste, smell, and sense what a healthy place and peoples feel like, I believe they will fight to keep it that way and even to improve upon it. That is the job of education. Healthy aina, lands, and healthy families will produce healthy kids. And these healthy kids will turn into healthy adults and leaders, rooted in place, tradition, and always innovating for the future.
Thank you so much. I think that's very valuable, everything that you just said, and especially the deep connections to the environment, to place, to family, and that family extends to the ocean and the environment. I mean, that is such a powerful statement. Thank you for that. Our next panelist I'd like to introduce is Dr. Wilson Grimes, who is a research assistant professor at the Center for Marine and Environmental Studies at the University of the Virgin Islands. So we're going across the world here. And she's also the director for the Virgin Islands Water Resources Research Institute. And I'll have you know at the University of Guam, that's 2 positions. So I know you're busy. She is the principal investigator for 2 major NOAA grants focused on coastal resiliency and community engagement. She is the co-chair for the Coastal and Estuarine Research Federation's Broadening Participation Council, and leads the Seas Islands Alliance Virgin Islands Hub. That's part of a $10 million National Science Foundation funded network that supports students from middle school through to up to the workforce in the marine and environmental sciences from the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Guam, and Micronesia. Welcome. Tell us about the Seas Islands Alliance and your other efforts. How are you engaging and preparing youth with skills to create a sustainable global future?
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to share more about the Supporting Emerging Aquatic Scientists for Seas Islands Alliance. The Seas Islands Alliance establishes a national network to support students in coastal geoscience pathways from the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Guam, and Micronesia. It builds upon 2 past successful National Science Foundation includes design and development launch pilots, projects that happened here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, as well as in Guam, as well as 1 National Science Foundation Improving Undergraduate STEM Education, or IUSE Award, in Puerto Rico. So NSF Includes is one of the National Science Foundation's Big 10 Ideas to Serve the Nation. And it's a comprehensive initiative that was started a number of years ago now to increase diversity, inclusion, and broaden participation in STEM. The Seas Islands Alliance engages students in the geosciences, specifically in marine and environmental sciences, by illuminating a full career pathway from middle school through to the workforce. And it increases their sense of belonging in STEM by connecting them across individual programs along their pathway, as well as across islands. We're also studying the ways that student development and pathways may vary across all of our different island settings in which we work. Building diversity in the geoscience workforce is incredibly important because the geosciences are the least diverse of all STEM fields, and we've made little progress on this over the past 40 years. Diversity is important because, as we heard Dr. Crespo say, we need diverse perspectives to solve complex coastal problems. Over the next 5 years, the Seas Islands Alliance will empower 425 youth in summer and school enrichment programs, 90 undergraduate students in research and career experiences, 65 graduate students through fellowships and a Bridge to Graduate School program, and 25 postgraduates in coastal science and education positions through the creation of a Workforce Fellows program. So in addition to her role with the sustainability program at Guam, Lauren Swedell, who introduced the meeting today, is actually Guam's new Seas Islands Alliance Workforce Fellow. So participants in the Seas Islands Alliance program, they receive scientific and professional training and experience, extensive mentorship, family support programs, and other cohort building activities to pursue and support their interests in marine and environmental sciences. And finally, just one last point, the Seas Islands Alliance is really the first of its kind to connect students across the Atlantic and Pacific basins in the ways that I described. And we're just so excited to be able to support and connect these island students. The project is just in its first year, but it will continue for the next 5 at least. And we really hope that it will create a strong foundation for continued connected work across our islands for many more years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson Grimes. We really appreciate that. And the numbers that you just mentioned, you're really going to be touching a lot of people, well, this alliance will, and helping to build careers. So that's fantastic. And, you know, we do tend to think of Pacific Islanders, but there are Atlantic Islanders. So I think this is I know we're very excited about this program here at the University of Guam with Austin, Cheryl Sangeza, many of our faculty members. And so we're looking forward to it. And of course, Lauren, yes, we are so proud of you. Congratulations for everything you've accomplished so far, and we expect more. So let's give Lauren a hand for her, for her fellowships. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Sonia Zarate. And she is a program officer at the Howard Hughes Medical Institute and president of the Society for the Advancement of Chicanos, Hispanics, and Native Americans in Science. She leads national efforts to ensure that science is able to benefit from the potential that diversity holds. Prior to her current appointment at HHMI, she was the director for the Office of Undergraduate Research at the University of San Diego and the PI for an NSF research experience for undergraduates focused on transfer and veteran students, and co-principal investigator for an undergraduate biology education improving undergraduate STEM education grant for engaged teacher training. So welcome, Dr. Sonia Zarate, and tell us a bit about SACNAS and how you are engaging and preparing youth with skills to create a sustainable global future.
Thanks, Kathleen. Good evening and buenas noches. I'm coming to you from Washington, D.C., where it's already about 7:30 in the evening. And so what I would like to do at this moment is take the time to recognize the Piscataway people on whose land I work and reside on. And I'd also like to thank Austin Shelton for inviting me to participate and all of you for your time. For those of you that don't know SACNAS or maybe don't know the history of SACNAS, we are a 47-year-old multicultural and multidisciplinary scientific society that was founded on the heels of the Chicano rights movement, also known as El Movimiento. So in the early 70s, a group of Chicano and Native American scientists recognized the potential that diversity held for the nation's scientific enterprise. And these founders also recognized the lack of doctoral level scientists as a result of populations being historically excluded in science. And so even at that time, the data from the survey of earned doctorates, of the doctoral degrees that were awarded in science and engineering, 1% and 0.1% were awarded to Hispanics and Native Americans respectively. And so SACNAS was created. Our mission is to foster the success of Chicanos, Native Americans, and members of other marginalized communities in attaining advanced degrees, careers, and positions of leadership in STEM. And therefore, while the work of SACNAS does contribute to most of the sustainable development goals, we focus on quality education and reduced inequalities, including gender inequalities, as they apply to the scientific or STEM enterprise. And so I would say that SACNAS takes a multi-pronged approach that focuses both on increasing diversity and also on making the scientific ecosystem more inclusive. And so SACNAS provides year-round programming, including a conference. Last year it was hosted in Hawaii. This coming year, depending on the pandemic, we will be hosting it in Long Beach, California from October 22nd to 24th. And so that conference has an exhibit hall, which is really where the magic happens, because that's where opportunities are introduced to all of the participants. And so this is an incredible opportunity to hear about all the things that they could potentially be doing. There's also professional development and scientific sessions, mentoring happens, and science communication with opportunities for students to share their research findings to a multidisciplinary scientific audience. So we focus a little bit on science communication. SACNAS also has 115 chapters nationally. These include student and professional chapters. We have chapters in Hawaii, Guam, and Puerto Rico. We also have leadership institutes. And so since 2009, we have prepared a cadre of over 300 postdocs, early, mid, and late career scientists and allies to lead change on their home campuses and institutions. And so SACNAS is really the only scientific society that sits in the liminal space between science, culture, and community. And so we also have a science policy and advocacy arm that takes positions on issues at the intersection of STEM and social justice as a way to reduce inequality. Issues such as Native American sovereignty, including the Dakota Access Pipeline and the 30-meter telescope, issues of immigration, specifically deferred action for childhood arrivals or DACA, and more recently, racial injustice and specifically state violence against Black communities. And so in terms of building capacity, I would say that SACNAS is really a model for inclusion in science. In other words, we model how to create an environment that values the whole individual. And so by creating these inclusive environments, we ensure that scientists are operating from both their head as well as their heart when solving the world's most pressing scientific challenges. And so we value community and believe that science should be for the greater good. And this isn't necessarily how science is done in the mainland. So to have a space that reminds students and professionals about the importance of sharing their gifts, that it is a good thing to bring that creativity, to bring their gifts to science, is something that is really contributing to a global sustainable future.
Thank you so much. I know that when our students go to SACNAS and they come back, they're just charged with energy, and they have a whole host of opportunities and their eyes are really opened at that conference to what is available out there for them, and the networking and the relationships that take place there are phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Now let's move on. We've got a couple of different questions, and we've got a few minutes to address these questions. And if you can keep your responses, panel, to about 1 minute, that would be much appreciated. And the first question is this, and we're going to start with Dr. Carlos Crespo. Each of us are approaching capacity building from different angles: biomedical research, geosciences, marine and environmental science, K-12 education for Native populations, fostering successes and leadership for underrepresented minorities in STEM. What are some of the most important contributions being made from your unique space to advance a sustainable global future? Dr. Crespo.
Thank you. So one of the things that our program does, it's a research study. So while we're doing the training and we're applying the best science that we know now, we are simultaneously collecting data that would help us predict success. Many of the things we're doing are relatively obvious, but yet you need to document what works and how well it works. So we collect data, for example, on how many times a student meets with a mentor and how many hours in a year. We collect data on how many hours they spend doing research. We collect data on their identity as a scientist. And all these things start giving you a picture of what are the best predictor that these students is going to remain in the program, and what are the best predictor the students going to continue. We do know their cognitive factors for sure. I mean, we do know that at the end of the day, they have to take their exams and they have to get good grades. And we don't interfere in that realm. That would be unethical for us to take their test for them. But what we do provide is the supportive environment. We call them non-cognitive factors. This sense of belonging, this sense of self-efficacy, identity. I think our students come in with this imposter syndrome, and sometimes they feel that they're not capable of contributing to science just like anybody else. And we have to work in that part. We need to be able to provide the students the energy and the motivation and the fact that they are actually as good as anybody else. And if they're provided with the resources and the support from people, they will do great things. And now that we see that we've been successful, these other students who are now in graduate school, they come back and the students are able to see that they can do it. So from my perspective, one of the things that I value the most is how to build that self-esteem so they can actually move to the next level without having to apologize to anybody.
Thank you. Dr. Kå'eo Duarte, do you have any thoughts to add?
Yeah, I think something we're doing, kind of to expand on what I said earlier. I mean, as we're an educational institution, but as the intro said, we also happen to be a large landowner in Hawaii. So something we're trying to do too is how do we take that position to walk the talk? If we're talking to our kids and we're producing education around these connections and values to place and community and around the SDGs and everything everyone on this call is about, how can we reflect our values as a Native trust by walking the talk and producing modern frameworks of business that are an extension of what we're saying in our education system and our cultural roots? So on the land side or the business end of our organization, if you will, we're really striving to how to seek to merge our Native Hawaiian values around things like financial returns. How does a Native Indigenous trust produce market returns while also equally valuing education, cultural, community, and environmental returns? Kind of a quintuple bottom line, if you will. And that's not easy, but I think that's again, learning by doing. So whether you're in our schools or in the business end of things, how do we continually learn and innovate? And our kids are watching. So the best thing we can do is to set an example of how we find a different path forward that can then trickle down and domino effect onto our education system and to provide jobs and pathways to bring these kids we're trying to educate from the ground up. So So maybe I'll add that.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just going to go now to allow Doctors Kristin and Sonia to give a short message to students and learners. What steps can they take today to achieve a sustainable global future? And this is for students and learners. And let's start with Dr. Kristin.
Sorry about that. I think one of the things that students can do today is to cultivate allies who will support you on your professional path and journey. So research shows that support, whether it's from family or friends, it's really an important predictor for student persistence in STEM. So what I'd say is tell your families, tell your friends what it is that you're learning, why it's important, and what excites you about it. You know, my other hat, I'm a mud scientist, and I can tell you from personal experience that not everyone finds mud exciting. I know that's really hard to believe. But when I talk mud to my family, to my friends, they actually think it's exciting simply because I do. So trust me, that excitement, it's infectious, it can mean their continued support, and it's really what can change the world.
Okay, Dr. Sonia, can you give your final thoughts on?
Absolutely, I will quickly add, you know, the idea that you can bring your whole self to the science that you do is so critical. You know, we think about diversity and we know that there's potential there for the scientific enterprise. As a matter of fact, you cannot have scientific excellence without the diversity piece. And so I just want to remind students that, you know, when you bring your mind and your heart to the work that you do, you end up doing incredible things. So don't forget to bring your whole self.
Thank you so much. I mean, clearly, I think this panel could go on for an hour, but we have to move along to the next exciting panel. And I just really want to thank our panelists, Dr. Carlos Crespo, Dr. Kå'eo Duarte, Dr. Kristin Wilson Grimes, and Dr. Sonia Zarate. Keep doing the great work that you do, and we look forward to more partnerships with everybody. Thank you so much. And that concludes panel 1.
Thank you, Kathleen, and thank you, panelists, for highlighting the impact capacity building programs and initiatives have in accelerating a sustainable global future. Now, I'd like to introduce the moderator of our next panel on quality education. Dr. Anita Borja Enriquez is the Senior Vice President and Provost at the University of Guam. In her career, she has led grant-funded initiatives that supported community economic development in Guam. Her research interests in value-added partnerships and passion for economic development led to the establishment of the Pacific Center for Economic Initiatives, the Guam Veterans Business Outreach Center, and the Guam Procurement Technical Assistance Program. She is a founding member of the Guam Museum Foundation Board of Directors and the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. She's the president of Guampedia, Inc. and former member of the Department of Chamorro Affairs Board of Trustees and Guam Education Board.
That was a wonderful first panel, and I'm very excited to segue into our second panel on achieving a sustainable global future on quality education. This panel of esteemed speakers who collectively oversee a student population of more than 150,000 will focus on the critical role universities and educational programs play in achieving a global sustainable future. We have joining us today Dr. Michael Crowe from Arizona State University, Dr. David Hall from the University of the Virgin Islands, Dr. Harleen Hain from the University of Otago, Dr. Thomas W. Christ from the University of Guam, and Dr. David Lassner from the University of Hawaii. Each of these panelists have many achievements that have led to the successes of their universities, students, and communities. However, because we'll only get to cover a portion of their efforts today, I encourage all of you to view their professional biographies on their university websites to see what other wonderful accomplishments they have made throughout their careers. Before we begin, let's watch a quick video of our speakers today. Thank you. We will begin with our first speaker, Dr. Michael M. Crowe. Dr. Crowe is the president of Arizona State University and has spearheaded ASU's rapid, groundbreaking, transformative evolution into one of the world's best put metropolitan research universities. Lauded as the #1 most innovative school in the nation by U.S. News and World Report, ASU is a student-centric, technology-enabled university focused on complex global challenges related to sustainability, economic competitiveness, social embeddedness, entrepreneurship, and global engagement. Under Dr. Crowe's leadership, ASU has established 24 new transdisciplinary schools, including the School of Earth and Space Exploration, the School of the Future of Innovation and Society, and the School of Human Evolution and Social Change, and launch trailblazing multidisciplinary initiatives, including the Biodesign Institute, the Julie Ann Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability, and important initiatives in the humanities and social sciences. So our question to President Crowe: how is Arizona State University building capacity for a sustainable global future?
Well, thank you, Anita. Nice to see you, and nice to have a chance to be here with all of you. And so, you know, for us, what we've decided is that we've made several fundamental errors in higher education. One was to move too slow relative to global climate change and ultimately sustainability. The other has been to move too slow and too imprecisely relative to social justice and social justice outcomes. These are just areas where, you know, we should hold our heads down a bit because we haven't been able to do more. We've been more focused on our own disciplines, our own structures, and so forth and so on. And so what we did at ASU in terms of sustainable global futures was to basically say that sustainability and the outcome of sustainability, and we measure and define sustainability as that intersection between the natural environment, the earth, how it works by itself without us, and all of the things that it does, and then the built environment, which we construct. And sustainability is this interface between the two that allows the earth to always be in its natural productive state and us to always be in balance with it. That's what we call sustainability. We decided to make it a core value of our institution, to make it something that, you know, we would go to zero carbon footprint, and we're well on our way. We would go to massive educational creativity. We've now built the Global Futures Laboratory, which has in it the Institute for Sustainability and the Future of Innovation, in it our new College of Global Futures, in that the new School of Sustainability, the School of Complexity, and the School for the Future of Innovation in Society. We have launched, we have thousands of students in sustainability, thousands of students. We've built sustainability programs in the business school, in the engineering school, and a thread of sustainability curriculum through the entire institution itself. We're doing about $150 million a year of sustainability research as a part of what we're working on. We're producing new technologies. We're then linking with partner institutions that we can learn with and from, that we can work with on a global basis. And so we're very interested in that. And so, you know, for us, the building of capacity starts with looking at the design of the university. The designs of most universities are simple replications of the design of every other university. They're just the same thing over and over and over and over. And what we decided was that it was, in fact, the design which was limiting us from being able to become the kind of sustainability institution, sustainable future driver that we should have been. That has meant building new relationships in the Pacific, building new relationships around areas where we didn't have expertise, thinking differently, acting differently. And it started with assessing ourselves. You know, we had every kind of the most common, almost robotic, simplistic, mundane argument. Well, who would ever take your degrees in sustainability and who would ever hire these people? Well, we decided we don't really care. What we decided was that we were going to build a sustainability school and build the right kind of intellectual environment. And the 1,000 graduates that we've had from that school have gone on to do great things at all levels. And so for us, we have been accelerating our activities. We now have consolidated them under this Global Futures effort. We now have a vice president for Global Futures. We are building a fantastic headquarters for this global futures research, teaching, learning, discovery, and problem-solving enterprise. And so I think to your question about how do you build capacity, the building of capacity starts by taking on sustainability as a core value of the institution. And maybe the last point that I'll make is that the core value is that sustainability is an outcome science. You're working towards something. Understanding is necessary but insufficient. Basic knowledge is necessary but insufficient. Academic papers are necessary but insufficient. Therefore, because they are all insufficient, we've got to get out ahead of that. So our method has been to make it a core value, to change our design, to change our culture, to change our purpose, and to launch this, what we call outcome-oriented science. And so that's been the approach that we've taken.
Thank you very much, President Crowe. Always a pleasure to see you, and thank you so much for including the University of Guam under your comprehensive partnership throughout the globe. Wonderful message with regard to beginning with making sustainability a core value and how that can be integrated in a lot of other things that we do as an institution. Thank you very much. And now we will introduce you to Dr. David Hull. Dr. Hull is the president of the University of the Virgin Islands. He has focused his efforts on increasing recruitment, retention, and graduation rates through initiatives such as Brothers with a Cause, the establishment of the Center for Student Success, and an academic learning center. The university has also forged a close working relationship with the Virgin Islands Department of Education, the Virgin Islands Board of Education, and public and private schools to build pathways to college and careers for the U.S. Virgin Islands students. Under President Hull's leadership, the university received a $1 million pledge to create a science building and a $5 million gift to create the 13D Student Entrepreneurial Competition and fund the Kara Sokolov Endowed Professorship in Entrepreneurship. The university has also launched a new Caribbean Center for Green Technology, a Center for the Study of Spirituality and Professionalism, and an Institute for Leadership and Institutional Effectiveness, and the UVI Goes Green initiative. My question to you, President Hull, is how is the University of the Virgin Islands building capacity for a sustainable global future?
Well, first, thank you for inviting me, and the University of Guam is dear to my heart. I was able to visit on your 60th anniversary and really enjoyed meeting everyone there, and have met President Chris and really appreciate being able to be a part of this. I would like to answer the question in the following manner, which is that there are certain ingredients that an institution must have in order to really develop a culture of sustainability, and not just within the institution, but to have an impact on the surrounding area. And the University of the Virgin Islands being the only university in the Virgin Islands, that last point becomes even more critical. The first ingredient, as President Crowe mentioned, is that sustainability and quality education has to be embedded into the culture of the institution. It has to have a commitment from the highest reaches of the institution. And so in our recent strategic plan, the title is Pathways, or excuse me, Greatness Through Innovation. And the reason we wanted that was that we believe very deeply, if we were going to create a sustainability culture, that we had to also embed the value of innovation into all of our activities. And we wanted our strategic plan to speak to that. But we also wanted, coming out of the hurricanes of 2017, Irma and Maria, we wanted also to make sure the concept of resiliency was embedded into our strategic plan as it is. And I'll talk later about how we have expanded our understanding of what that mission is. But in addition to embedding the value into the heart of the institution, the next ingredient is having people who are committed to those ideas. One of those individuals was a panelist on the prior panel, Dr. Kristin Wilson Grimes. But we've been able to attract some other outstanding individuals, Greg Winnell, Kim Waddell, just to mention a couple who have become anchors of trying to move the institution in that direction. I am not limiting my efforts to those three individuals, but I highlight that to say that this does not always become something, even when it's embedded in your strategic plan, that every faculty member is going to embrace, or every faculty member has the skills, expertise to move forward. So having excellent individuals who have a passion for this type of work is the second important ingredient. The third one is what I call having an institutionalized focus, because individuals doing the work alone really doesn't move the needle. And so we've been able to create various entities within the institution that has served as a focal point for sustainability. We started out a number of years ago creating the Center for Green Technology, the Caribbean Center for Green Technology, which over time really became the policy think tank for the entire territory of the Virgin Islands around renewable energy matters. So we became the place, senators came, governor came, in order to get the cutting edge insight of what needed to happen in the territory around renewable energy. Another way in which we've institutionalized it is through the EPSCoR program. We receive a major grant from NSF. We are an EPSCoR jurisdiction, and so much of the focus of our EPSCoR project has been in the area of marine science. And though we sometimes don't think about marine science as being directly connected to sustainability, but by its nature it is, because we are working on how do we preserve this beautiful environment that we are fortunate enough to live in. So the research that our marine science faculty members are doing is core to the sustainability mission. And then more recently, again, coming out of the hurricanes, we began to realize that though sustainability captures an excellent part of what it is we're trying to do, the concept of resiliency, and not just resiliency in a narrow, how do you improve your infrastructure so that it can come back quickly after a hurricane, but all of the human dimensions of resiliency. How do you build more resilient people, more resilient families, more resilient communities? And so we're now in the process of launching a Center for Resiliency and Sustainability, because we want both of those concepts to work together under that broader umbrella. And one of the core factors of that is the hazard mitigation work that we're doing. We received a major grant from FEMA to develop the hazard mitigation plan, again, for the entire Virgin Islands. And so the external population is looking to us to help prepare for the next hurricane or the next disaster. But we combine the two, sustainability and resiliency, because we don't want to just prepare the transportation and technology systems for the next catastrophe. We want to prepare our people, our students, our faculty, individuals in the community for it as well. And then the last thing that I would want to mention in regards to institutionalized focus is the fact that we are now beginning to have conversations with the University of Puerto Rico about looking at economic resiliency from a regional perspective. Because in order for island territories to sustain themselves, there really has to be an economic feature and focus to it, because it becomes a core of our ability to fund all of the needs that exist among our people. It also becomes the focus that allows us to be able to overcome those tragedies. And so sustainability for us has evolved over time, and some of our experiences like the hurricanes and now the pandemic has changed and altered our, I would say, deepened our understanding. The point I want to end on, though, is the last ingredient for sustainability is getting the support for external partners, because the university, and especially a small university such as ours, cannot sustain itself nor contribute to the sustainability movement just based on the resources that we have. And an example of how our local government has stood up to that challenge is a year ago, well, a year and a half ago, the territory passed legislation that made tuition for Virgin Islanders free at the University of the Virgin Islands. That was a major step towards sustainability, personal and human sustainability from my perspective, because it was a decision to invest in the students of these islands so that they could have the skills, the values to be the future leaders of the territory and thus provide sustainability that is needed in a global manner. So those are the things we've been working on, but those are the ingredients that I believe any institution that is serious about doing this type of work need to provide and gather for themselves.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hall. We met during our 60th anniversary as well, and I had the good pleasure of reviewing your strategic plan, and I love your sharing of the ingredients to develop a culture of sustainability in any institution. A lot of gems learned from that, the importance of embedding innovation as well, recognizing in your particular area the importance of building capacity for resiliency, bringing people who are passionate about the work on sustainability, the importance of partnerships, and we saw how President Crowe had explained that as well. So thank you very much for that. Our next speaker is Dr. Harleen Hayne. She is the Vice Chancellor at the University of Otago, the Chair of the university's New Zealand Research Committee, and a Fellow of the Royal Society of New Zealand and of the Association for Psychological Science. Otago was named a United Nations Regional Center of Expertise for Sustainability, and University of Otago took the lead by being the first New Zealand university to sign the International Sustainable Development Goals Accord, and is actively contributing to these goals through its research, teaching, and operations. The University of Otago also has the Center for Sustainable Cities, an interdisciplinary research center dedicated to providing the research base for innovative solutions to the economic, social, environmental, and cultural development of their urban centers. Vice Chancellor Hayne, how is the University of Otago building capacity for a sustainable global future?
Kia ora, Anita. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this panel. I'm going to actually pick up right where David left off on the topic of students. So at Otago, our view is that as a university, the most important contribution that we make to a sustainable global future is through our students. We recognize that we educate the next generation of doctors and lawyers and accountants and teachers and scientists and musicians, but more importantly, perhaps, our role is to nurture the next generation of global citizens. And we really take this latter responsibility very seriously. The first step for us is to ensure that poverty is not a barrier to entry to Otago. And each year, the university provides a wide range of support mechanisms to reduce financial hardship for students, including hundreds of scholarships and relief grants. Most recently, in the wake of COVID-19, we immediately established a multi-million-dollar student support fund that provides emergency relief allowing our students to continue their studies despite significant loss of part-time work and family income. We also understand and internalize the transformative power of education. Many of the senior leaders here at Otago, including me, are the very first member in their family to attend university. And each year, we actively recruit students from challenging backgrounds, providing them with the academic support that they need to succeed here. We are incredibly proud of the fact that on the basis of national benchmarking data, our students are the most successful in New Zealand, including both our Maori students, the native people of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and our Pacific Island students. The university is also the host to the country's oldest and largest medical school, and it's also the home to the National Dental School. We have health professional programs in physiotherapy and pharmacy and radiation therapy. And for these programs, we have adopted a mirror-on society policy for admission, such that the cultural background of each incoming cohort of students matches the cultural diversity of New Zealand. And by way of one example, since 2016, we have graduated 45 new Maori doctors each year, literally changing the human face of medical practice in New Zealand in a very short period of time. As Anita mentioned, Otago was the first New Zealand university to sign the UN Sustainable Development Goal Accord in 2018. And each year, we actively communicate our goal for a sustainable future to our student community. At our opening convocation ceremony, for example, we remind our students about the obligations of global citizenship. And in doing so, we challenge them to give back, sharing their time and their talents with others who need their help. And each year, our student community rises to this challenge, contributing more than 20,000 hours of volunteer service to the communities in which they live and study. And much of this activity is directly related to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And it includes things like planting trees, cleaning up beachfront, planting community gardens, and supporting underprivileged children in education. Now, one of the things that I found particularly interesting is that employers are increasingly reporting to me that our graduates question their businesses about their commitment to the SDGs when they're interviewed. And this is a clear indication to me that we are fostering a way of life here at Otago that our students carry with them when they leave us. In short, as a residential university, our students come to Otago not only to learn, but more importantly, perhaps to live. And our unique learning and living environment provides multiple opportunities to teach our students not only the skills that they need to succeed in their chosen profession, but also the skills that they need to solve the big problems that we face in our communities, our countries, and our planet. And in this way, here at Otago, we are continuing to build capacity to support a sustainable global future.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor Hayne. Wonderful examples of how student success is exemplified, especially in terms of making college affordable and accessible to those families from challenging backgrounds. I love how you've been able to explain this whole transformative education in terms of building global citizens, building the capacity for that. And so very excited about that. A lot to gain from that as well. Thank you. Yes. Our next speaker is Dr. Thomas Kreis, the president of the University of Guam. Dr. Kreis grew up in the U.S. Virgin Islands. He is a former president of Pacific Lutheran University in Washington State, a graduate and former faculty member of the Air Force Academy. He was also a Fulbright Scholar at the University of the West Indies in Jamaica and has published numerous articles on island literature. One of Dr. Kreis's first major actions as president of the University of Guam was to launch the Parahula Strategic Plan. The Parahula Strategic Plan will focus the next 5 years on areas that will further enhance UOG's ability to provide a valuable education and an engaging experience to its students, serve the needs of its communities in Guam, and the region, and enhance the recognition of the university as the flagship research and partnership institution for all of Micronesia. President Grimes, how is the University of Guam building capacity for a sustainable global future?
Thank you, Anita, and thank you to my fellow panelists. I'm pleased to have met each of them in their home environment with the exception of Harleen, so I look forward to getting to Otago sometime soon. And congratulations to New Zealand on the way that you've handled the coronavirus. So we're all envying your situation. So let me just point out two directions in that in the strategic plan that Anita pointed out: the Parahulo, the ever upward strategic plan for UOG. The two sort of marquee directions are to be recognized as a research university and to lead Guam and our wider Micronesian region as a partnership institution. And as we've heard from the conference today so far, UOG has been growing its research capacity by leaps and bounds over a number of years. Just 3 years ago, UOG had $8 million in federal research funding, and today we're at over $20 million. And this remarkable achievement, it's especially remarkable for an institution of our modest size of about 3,500 students. And much of this research funding is supporting work related to island sustainability, and the work of a number of our research centers is focused on sustainability issues, including, of course, the Island Center for Island Sustainability. We also have the Marine Laboratory celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, the Water and Environmental Research Institute, the Western Pacific Tropical Research Center, and the Pacific Island Climate Adaptation Science Center. And so each one of these centers has commitments and partnerships with the institutions represented on this panel and in this conference series over these weeks. And what we're aiming to do in terms of that idea of being a partnership institution is not just to make a great number of partnerships, but to layer those and to enrich those partnerships with institutions at multiple levels, with connections to researchers and students at multiple levels. So that's really important to us as part of the strategic plan. And I think another issue for us and worth commenting on for the audience is that the University of Guam has the distinction of being the only American public university that is charged by its sponsoring government to serve people beyond the jurisdiction of that government. And so we have responsibility to be the university for 2 US territories, the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Islands, Guam, as well as 3 independent countries in Micronesia: Palau, the Federated States of Micronesia, and the Republic of the Marshall Islands. And then we also maintain connections with American Samoa and with Hawaii in our Pacific Island US affiliated organizations. And so I think that kind of the notion of layered partnership on issues of sustainability helps to build the capacity of our students, of our researchers, of our communities to deal with all the many issues related to sustainability, to creating a sustainable society. And then it also then allows us in our neighborhood, our strengthened neighborhood, to make connections to other neighborhoods. And I think many of us in the Pacific are conscious of this sort of dotted line across the Pacific between various sort of the American part and the Commonwealth part and the French part, and that we don't talk enough across those barriers. So the work of this conference and the many partners involved here of sort of breaking down those barriers and connecting students, exchanging students, getting students collaborative, researchers and students working collaboratively on these challenges will strengthen all of us. And I think there's also this sense of islands have a perspective on sustainability that is perhaps unique, and it is sort of marketable to the rest of the world. So we heard just last week of communities in Idaho feeling themselves islanded and appreciating an island perspective on sustainability. So there are ways that the connections to institutions like Arizona State University can help strengthen this and can bring the kind of island wisdom that we recognize exists in islands in the Caribbean and the Pacific and around the world, that we can bring these things to larger audiences and build this capacity. So thank you to Anita for the question and for the panel for this great opportunity to compare notes.
Thank you very much, President Grimes, and for reminding us as a University of Guam the importance of taking a look at our region and how through our partnerships, not just within our institutional regional partners, but also across the globe, that we can leverage more to do more as far as building capacity. And there is much to be learned about island sustainability from an island wisdom perspective, and we're looking forward to how that unfolds even further with the much broader partners that we have. And now we'll turn you over to our last presenter, Dr. David Lassner, who is the president of the University of Hawaii. Dr. Lassner's current agenda includes a focus on helping more Hawaii residents earn college credentials and developing an innovation sector to strengthen the state's economy while creating high-quality jobs. He is also advancing UH's commitments to sustainability and becoming a model Indigenous serving university. An active principal investigator, Lassner led Hawaii's major stateside project funded by the U.S. Department of Commerce that interconnected all public schools, libraries, and campuses on 6 islands with fiber optics. He has had support from the National Science Foundation over 20 years, focused on research and education networking and cyber infrastructure. He is principal investigator for the Maui High Performance Computing Center and for the Pacific Disaster Center, which are major U.S. Department of Defense programs on Maui. President Lassner, how is the University of Hawaii building capacity for a sustainable global future?
Thank you, aloha, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's Kamehameha Day in Hawaii when we celebrate Kamehameha the Great. He united the indigenous people of these islands in 1810 to create the first Hawaiian kingdom, and I'm honored and privileged to be able to live and work here. I'm sorry I couldn't be there this year as I was last year. It was a pleasure to be on the president's panel. Thank you with you, Tom. You were a new president there at that time. And it's great to renew the relationships with the University of Guam, which are indeed deep between the University of Hawaii and the University of Guam across so many dimensions, both for me personally and for so many of our faculty and administrators. So maybe a brief comment about the University of Hawaii, and it came out in my introduction. So we have formally embraced within our mission statement, along with the traditional education, research, and service, commitment to a journey to become a model Indigenous serving university. And it is indeed a journey on which we are challenged every day, but it's also an incredible opportunity for our state and our only public institution of higher education. We also embraced uniquely in our mission, adopted by our Board of Regents, a commitment to sustainability. And what is perhaps most interesting about that is that we did that at the behest of our students. They reached out and they said, we want to be at a university that is committed to sustainability. They drafted the language, which our Board of Regents eventually adopted. And I won't belabor it, you can Google it. And actually, I talked about it last year when I was on the president's panel in Guam with many of you. I think what I want to say today, you know, all of us, we haven't talked very much about the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on all of us in higher education and across society. But today, as I think about sustainability and as our institution thinks about sustainability, we are very focused about creating a new future for our state and our university that is more sustainable, than what we have endured in the past. So Hawaii has, we're one of the top 3 states for unemployment right now. And that's because our economy is completely dominated by the tourism sector, which shut down to almost nothing in a single day when we basically shut down hotels, transportation to the islands, and so forth. And we are also seeing an incredible resurgence of our environment just in these 2 months with no tourists and with people staying indoors. The changes to our coral reefs, to our water, to traffic, to almost every aspect of life have been monumental and noticeable to everyone across our islands. So today, what I think about every day is what is the role of the university, even as our budget is being slashed due to a state economy that is incredibly challenged. We need to double down on the things that are most important. So some of them are the usual things that we all hear about. We need to educate more of our citizenry with education after high school. We need a stronger, and we're over $400 million in extramural research every year. That's an industry for the state that we need to nurture, creates thousands of jobs and ripple effects. We need to focus on the workforce in healthcare and across all of those sectors. But what I'm most excited about right now is our work to seed new economic sectors and to help develop new approaches to our old sectors. And let me just highlight a couple of those, and then I know we have some additional questions. So like everyone, we're thinking about building a stronger sector in technology. We need to do better at computer science and engineering. Thank you, Michael, for loaning us one of your deans to help with a review of our programs just a few months ago. And we have some great ideas about how we can rebuild it. For us, something that's unique is a focus on digital creative media technologies and building on the strength of the people of Hawaii, both the indigenous people, but our other cultures, in telling their stories. A second area for us is food and agriculture. So we have what is probably an unhealthy tension between those who want to see us grow all of our own food and those who want to see us grow export crops that can generate revenue from outside. But we have not figured out agriculture in this state since the end of our plantation economy. And that's something that I think the university has to figure out how to bring those two together. We have incredible strengths in climate change and resilience with both federal funding and amazing researchers who collaborate across the Pacific. We can do more forms of sustainable, renewable energy here than almost anywhere on Earth. We're exploring what microgrids look like at scale, and we have amazing expertise at understanding how to protect and restore the native environments that were here for thousands of years before Western contact, building back on some of that indigenous knowledge. And last, let me comment on our 900-pound gorilla of the economics here, which is the hospitality or tourism industry. We need to figure out a new approach to the tourism industry. What does sustainable tourism mean that lives in harmony with our people and is a positive influence for our people, rather than a relief for so many when it goes away, other than economically. So that's what I'm up to.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, President Lassner. Always a pleasure to see you. And gosh, like our institution, we're in a tiny little island, and the problems, the challenges, the opportunities are the same. And we're just very grateful for the partnership we have with your institution to draw from and see how we can also participate at scaling up different opportunities, especially in terms of renewable energies. And I love how you've also embraced indigenous knowledge and the importance of respecting what you have. Happy Kamehameha Day to you as well, and looking forward to more conversations and certainly more ways that we can partner together. Okay, so we have taken up a lot of time, but there's so much value in what all of our presenters have made. And unfortunately, we'll have to skip the 3 questions and go straight to the closing. And in this, we like to hear from each of you. And unfortunately, we're only giving you roughly 30 seconds or less to a short message to our students and to our learners. What steps can they take today to help achieve a sustainable global future? What steps can they take today to help achieve a sustainable global future? We'll begin with President Crowe.
Well, I mean, to the students in terms of help moving towards a sustainable future, 1, think like a marathon runner. It's a lifelong thing. You'll devote the entirety of your life to it. 2nd, broaden your learning base as much as you possibly can. Do not focus only on the narrow, maybe specialize, but keep yourself broadly focused. And 3, fearlessly drive change. Nothing is going to happen unless we fearlessly drive change.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Hall.
Well, the first thing I would say to students is that they should come into educational institutions wanting to break down boundaries and learn in a creative manner. That just because there are prescribed disciplines, they should not stay locked into those, because sustainability cuts across all disciplines and they should be willing to do that. The second and most important, even more important than the first, is that they must develop good values and be willing to put those values into practice. What we're seeing across this nation and around the world in regards to the fight against social injustice is something that is driven by students or young individuals. And that is the greatest test of changing the society for the better. And I would encourage them to follow what they see.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. And now we'll hear from Vice Chancellor Hayne.
Thank you very much. I just want to start by acknowledging the fact that here in New Zealand, we have an incredibly productive and collaborative partnership with the native people here, the tangata whenua, or the Māori of Aotearoa, New Zealand. So I thought I would end my message with the words of the Māori people. Kia kaha, kia maia, kia mana wanui, which translates into be strong, be brave, and be steadfast. But I also want to acknowledge the incredible success that New Zealand has experienced in the fight against COVID-19. And a large part of that success has been driven by the fact that our government's approach has been underpinned by scientific and expert advice, much of which has come from the University of Otago, which is an incredible point of pride for us. So I'd also like to end with the words of our current Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Jacinda Ardern: be kind and look after each other.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And now we'll hear from President Grimes.
Thank you, Nita. Thank you for all of those great comments. And I think the thinking about this period of time, I don't know what we'll eventually call this, the crisis of 2020 or whatnot, but there's a relationship between the pandemic, the economic collapse, and the demands for social justice and an end to systematic racism, is that this is a time when we need to think in new ways, and this is the opportunity for a revolution across the board. And students typically are major players in revolutions and changing the way that we think and act and behave. And so I think this opportunity to sort of crawl out of the economic challenge and the pandemic challenge and the social justice challenge is related to imagining a world that is more sustainable in all of those dimensions: social justice dimension, economic dimension, health dimension, and environmental sustainability dimension. So I think for students to be thinking really imaginatively, realize that they have power, and that we all need help in thinking this new world into being. And in the Chamorro language, the term Inafa Mawalek is a basic principle about the idea of making things right. And it's typically understood to be in human relationships, but it seems to me that there's even a broader possibility there of thinking of making all things right, and that students can think of their mission as making all things right and imagining this new future.
Thank you very much, President Kreis. And finally, we'll hear from President Lasner.
You know, the comments have been so wise, and I agree with everything my colleagues have said. So let me just close with a few words. Like Vice Chancellor Hain, I will share a Hawaiian, we say olelo no ea, or words of wisdom. Ohe pau ka'ike I ka halau ho'okahi. All knowledge is not taught in one school.
Okay, thank you very much. It has been an honor, and you have shared with us remarkable gems. I want to say on behalf of everyone who has zoomed into this inaugural virtual conference, I want to say in our language, Sendankalu Nesizus Ma'asi, to President Crowe, to President Hall, Vice Chancellor Hain, President Kreis, President Lasner, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules. And this wraps up our panel, and we look forward to opportunities when we can see you all in person. Sizus Masi.
Bye-bye.
Aloha.
Hafide, I'm Austin Shelton, Director of the University of Guam Center for Island Sustainability and Sea Grant. Thank you to our conference co-chairs, UOG President Thomas Kreis and Governor of Guam Lou Leon Guerrero, for bringing us together for this 7-week virtual conference series around the theme, Island Wisdom for a Global Future. Prior to the COVID pandemic hitting Guam, they made the difficult decision to call off our in-person event. Stating that sustainability is more important than ever, they committed to shifting to the virtual format we are now in. Thank you all, our conference attendees, for joining us just today or for all 7 sessions of our UOG virtual conference series on island sustainability. Over the past 7 weeks, we've learned about advancing United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in locally and culturally effective ways through the Local 2030 Islands Network. We heard how to achieve 100% renewable energy worldwide by 2045 through the Blue Planet Alliance. We learned how to stimulate island circular economy industries and design out waste and pollution while regenerating natural systems. We listened to inspirational CIS seed talks, ideas worth cultivating from remarkable Obama leaders. We filled our baskets with lessons from women business leaders who are sustainability solutionaries. And today, we heard from incredible university presidents and capacity builders about achieving a sustainable global future. You can relive the whole thing with the highlights and recordings on our website anytime. Thank you for the generosity of our sponsors and G3 members and strategic partners who have made this conference possible. Thanks to our amazing high-performance conference logistics team for innovating and pulling this off. This has truly become a global conference with over 2,000 total Zoom logins from more than 75 countries, states, and territories, and over 13,500 social media views. One big announcement that I'd like to leave you with is to save the dates for our next conference, April 5th through April 9th, 2021. While we can't quite determine if we'll be back to an in-person event, virtual or hybrid format, I can guarantee that it will be informative, inspirational, and push us all to action to achieve a sustainable future. Keep connecting with us throughout the year as we advance the Guam Green Growth Initiative, island circular economy industries, food security and aquaculture, watershed and coral reef restoration, STEM capacity building, traditional knowledge, and rare and endangered plant research. Send me or our team an email and connect with us on social media. Sijuas Maasi and thank you, stay safe, and see you again soon.
Great. And I hope you found inspiration and developed more relationships that will contribute to our goal of a sustainable global future. Now, I'd like to ask you 2 closing poll questions. First question, how much do you agree with the following statement? Quality education and capacity building programs and initiatives can accelerate achieving a sustainable global future. The scale is from strongly agree to strongly disagree, with neutral in the middle. I'll give you about 5 more seconds to answer the question. Okay, closing this poll. Almost 90% of you strongly agree that quality education and capacity building can help us achieve that goal. And no one disagrees, so that's really exciting. That means our program was really fruitful, and just watching it, I felt really much more inspired than I have. And I've truly benefited from the quality education I've received at the University of Guam and all the capacity building efforts there. So I agreed before, and I agree even more now. And for the second poll, one more poll. How many ideas are you taking away with you after today's session? 0, 1 or 2, 3 or 4, or 5 or more? I'll give you about 5 more seconds to answer. All right. So everyone's going away from today's session with at least one idea. Some of them 5 or more, and that's fantastic. I hope to see your work in the future and that we could stay connected. All right. Thanks for participating in our very last poll, and thank you again for being part of the University of Guam virtual conference series on island sustainability. We hope to see you next year at the 2021 conference. Now we'll transition to our 30-minute virtual networking reception hosted by Norman and Alista, the Director of Development, Alumni Affairs, and Foundation Relations, and the Interim Director of the University Events Office at the University of Guam, and Anania Nauta, the Project Coordinator of the UOG Center for Island Sustainability. Si Dios ma'asi, and have a great day. Viva Island Sustainability and
Hafaday. Welcome to our virtual networking session. I'd like to ask for my co-host, Ms. Anania Nauta, to begin with her introduction.
Hafaday, everyone. Saina ma'asi. Thank you to all of our panelists today and over the last 7 weeks. I'm Anania Nauta, and I am the project coordinator at the University of Guam Center for Island Sustainability. If you've tuned in with us before, I, along with a few others, have been working on the back end for this conference, and this week I get to be up front with all of you to just engage in this virtual reception. I'm really excited and honored to be co-hosting our last virtual networking reception with Norman Analista.
Well, buenas and hafa, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Norm Analista. I'm the Director for Development, Alumni Affairs, and Foundation Relations, as well as the Interim Director for the University of Guam Events Office. And it is my honor to be a part of this wonderful conference and to be part of the conversation today. And I'm equally excited to be co-hosting with Ms. Anania Nauta. Now, apart from this being the last session for today, today's a Friday as well, and I kind of like the good vibes that we had with that music rolling into this. Incidentally, today is also Philippine Independence Day, which I know is celebrated globally by the larger Filipino community throughout the world. So I want to say mabuhay to them as well. Anania?
Yes, so we'll be your moderators for today's virtual networking session, and we're excited for a rich discussion with all of you on how to work towards a more sustainable future.
Yeah, and as you know, COVID-19 has prompted us all to rethink how we do things across the board as individuals and even collectively. And one thing that remains constant is our need to connect and stay connected. And we're really very, very fortunate to have the ability to stay connected in creative ways, such as this virtual conference and through the many online platforms. And that's the purpose of this networking reception, is to connect with each other and stay connected. So we hope to give everybody the opportunity to share, learn, and connect, building on the inspiring talks that we heard earlier. And of course, whatever comes to your mind, this is the last session for our conference.
Yes, so we're going to explain how this works. In a few minutes, we are going to open up the floor to all of you. But first, please join us in turning on your video for this happy hour or coffee hour for wherever you may be and your time zone is. And we welcome you to use the chat box liberally as well.
Yes, and we'll help as moderators with a couple of questions and call on participants to share as well. And to give everybody time to speak, we kindly ask that you please keep your comments under a minute. And first, we want to start with a couple of interactive questions that everyone can do at once in the chat box and on the video.
Okay, so as Norm said before, we're going to be opening up the floor to begin with a couple of rapid questions for everyone.
Yes, so you'll answer these questions by waving, giving a thumbs up in your video, or by typing your answers in the chat box.
Okay, and to get started, since this is our last session, please wave to the camera if you've attended more than one of our virtual conference series on island sustainability sessions. And if your memory is that awesome, tell us what the themes are in the chat box. I know I see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd, so yes, we did have.
Yes, absolutely. It's a beautiful Friday, a beautiful audience. This is going to be a great time. So what are some of the comments, Anania?
Yeah, so we have women in business last week. Circular economy was really good. Nice to see you again. Building capacity, thank you. Women in business. Love that spelling, Kyle.
Yeah.
And yeah, great job, everyone. That we have about 7 altogether, obviously not including today's because it's a given. Small business, traditional practices. We did have the navigational one, yes. So that was a big one for traditional practices.
Yeah.
And, oh, awesome. Monique, she attended 5 out of 7. You go, girl. We did. Oh,
that's
there.
Impressive.
Okay. Phil doesn't count because Phil works for us. So he knows all of the themes for each week in order. But thank you all again for joining us. Did you want to start off with the next question, Ron?
Yeah, sure. So tell us by typing in the chat box where you're joining us from.
I'd love to see all the different places that you guys are coming from. New Jersey.
So we have Guam, of course, Saipan, New Jersey, Marine Lab Lane, right down the street from the Sea Grant office, Arizona,
CNMI. Glad to get
Saipan.
you guys again.
So wonderful to have a global audience tuning in as part of this virtual networking session. Thank you for joining us, everybody. So as I was mentioning earlier, I'm extremely excited to be hearing from our alumni as well, considering that's one of the main responsibilities I have with the University of Guam, is to maintain connections with our alumni, very much the same way that we're trying to create connections with the participants from our conference, especially those from the last 7 weeks.
Okay, awesome. And would you like to go ahead and go on with the next question that we have for the crowd?
Yeah, sure. So the next question is, wave at the camera or in the chat box if you've been a part of a capacity building program or initiative, and write in the chat box which one and how were you involved. So that's a question that's going to elicit some details, so I'll give you a few moments to type that in.
And we can all admire Norm's green screen in the background.
It's very fitting for UOG, isn't it? And Dean Margaret Hattori-Achima, NIH Build.
Includes, yes, Kyle, thank you. NSF includes and SACNAS, so we did hear from a few of them today. And Lauren, one of our very own UOG CIS, she's been a part of many. It's really awesome. Oh, we have a mentor in here, Miss, with NSF includes and the Director of Island Ecology Field Course. Thank you for joining us. More NSF includes and Seas Island Alliance. Awesome. Okay, and we're gonna ask you to go ahead and type more in the chat box for this last question for everyone. So go ahead and type a one-word or one-sentence takeaway from today's sessions. I know we definitely heard a lot of really great things that a lot of our the presidents from the universities are doing at their schools. It's really awesome work, and really proud to have had them here today to open up and tell us all about it. So anyone else? We have momentum, vision, awesome. We have be kind and look after each other. That one was really touching. That one stuck with me too. Achieving a sustainable global future is a marathon and we have to keep going. Thank you, Lauren. Social justice, definitely, especially in this time. Another social justice, awesome. Well, one word or one sentence, Dr. Johnson, either or. You could just—
kind of hard to sum this up in one word, isn't it?
I know, there was a lot of really great stuff today. Yeah. Fearlessly drive change. That's a really good one from today too. Thank you.
Yeah, and I see a lot of these takeaway statements that really drive home for me, and Lauren's in particular. Achieving a sustainable global future is a marathon and we have to keep going. And I think that's the message that a lot of us have to take away from this experience, is that it's not a one-time conference and everything ends there. It's not a one-time effort. It's not a one-time this or that, but it's truly a collective effort that the community needs to be involved with. And very much like with the marathon, you have to ensure that you're training for this, that you are physically capable, that you have the capacity to continue that race. I think that's something that hit home for me. So thank you for that, Lauren.
All right, we had a lot of really awesome comments in the chat, but I think we're gonna go ahead and start opening it up. Norm?
Yeah, so we want to hear from you, and you can let us know what you're thinking by raising your hand virtually on Zoom, and we'll then call on you to unmute and then share with the group. So we can start with any of our virtual networkers. Who would like to start?
We just also ask that you start by saying your name and where you're from, and also a little bit about the work that you're doing to create a more sustainable future. We ask, though, that you keep your comments to at least about a minute to just give everyone some time. And we have Naomi Borg. Is she here today? Hello. Oh, there we go. Half a day, Naomi.
So I am a alumni of the University of Guam. I graduated this past semester as a biology student, and I see some of my classmates. Hello. I was part of the Pilot Includes program that started a couple of years ago at UOG. I interned at the Center for Island Sustainability, and today I am working there. So these programs that the University of Guam has and many other universities have really helped students, and I'm one of them that it's helped. It's opened up many opportunities for me, allowed me to do research and also expand my interests. I didn't know that I'd be working here today, but when I interned at CIS, I really loved what I saw the biologists here doing, and now I get to work with them and on the projects that we're doing. And also, I was one of the first students to open up our chapter, our SACNAS chapter here at the University of Guam, and I was also able to go to one of the conferences, and both have been such a great big help for me in my education and also in furthering my career and my future goals, where I want to go.
Wow, sounds like some wonderful work that you've done, Naomi, and a wealth of experience that's come from your involvement with the Center for Island Sustainability. Congratulations on all of your efforts, and I'm pretty sure that you'll have a very bright future in your work in the sustainability field.
Thank you. And I'm very grateful for all these programs that Dr. Shelton and so many people here have been working to make available for us students.
Thank you. And Ania, I think you have another student that wants to speak.
We do have someone lined up next. Do we have Megan here? Megan came in. There we go.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, half a day.
Hi. Half a day, everyone. My name is Megan Gimmons, and I'm a recent graduate of the University of Guam as well, in chemistry and biology, and a minor in sociology. And I've also been a participant of some of the programs and networks represented here today, such as SACNAS and Build Exito. And I'd just like to say thank you to everyone present who has initiated, led, or been a part of programs that build up young scientists like myself, because I really do think that programs like these spark careers and change lives. And it was because of my local SACNAS chapter that I was introduced to and supported when applying to research programs and postgraduate programs. And when I attended the SACNAS National Conference in 2018, I honestly felt like a rock star because the environment celebrated who I was culturally as an islander and how people like my peers and I could change the world. Also, being a part of Build Exito was probably the most impactful experience I've personally had. Oh.
You're good.
Oh, okay. I've personally had in my undergraduate years. I've received so much support for 3 years in terms of research, career planning, mentorship, and in my personal life. My Build cohort has become like an extended family to me and has taught me about the heterogeneous perspectives of people in the Pacific. And a common obstacle that I hear from my fellow students is accessibility to career and research training. So programs like these are really important. I owe who I am today largely in part to people just like you guys. So thank you. And I would encourage other students present today to consider applying to programs and networks like these at your home and other accessible institutions.
Well, thank you so much, Megan. Impressive work, and I can tell you're going to have a very bright future ahead of you. And if I may mention that you are the class valedictorian for this upcoming, for this class that's graduating. So congratulations, Megan. That's a wonderful accomplishment, and we wish you the best. Anna, do we have another student lined up?
Yes, we do. Thank you so much again, Megan. We have Kå'eo Duarte. I believe he has joined us for all of our conferences, or all of the weeks of our conference. So is he here today to speak to us for a little bit? Oh, there we go. Hi, Kå'eo.
Hi. Okay. Half a day. My name is Kå'eo Duarte, and I just completed my first year with the University of Guam. And throughout my first year, I was able to intern with UOG grant. And I was fortunate enough to travel to Puerto Rico to learn more about philanthropy and that in environmental work with Dr. Austin Shelton. So I was grateful to have an internship with him. In my second semester, I was able to pick up the National Science Foundation Includes program, which is sort of like an affirmative action for students who are interested in STEM-related research and exposure. And my experience with the program has allowed me to expand on my dreams to lead Guam towards food sovereignty. And although we've been kind of shortchanged and with COVID-19, haven't been able to meet up physically with my mentor, I have been meeting with Dr. Elsie Shills through Zoom calls and through WhatsApp, and we've been able to work on a project here at home. And I'm hopeful that with the guidance, I'll be able to build upon my dreams and aspirations. And UOG has actually given me that outlet to test my thoughts and my skills. And I just thought it's been a great opportunity. So, Viva UOG!
Yeah, Viva UOG! Thank you so much, Kyle. We're really glad that you've had a wonderful experience and continue to have a wonderful experience with our institution. And kudos for all the work that you're doing. I know it's particularly challenging to meet up with your mentors or whoever may be working with you in person, but I'm pretty sure that as we get used to this new normal, everybody will continue to thrive. And Anania, you have another speaker lined up.
Yes, thank you again, Kyle. We have Dean Margaret. Is she here? Did you want to speak on this with us today? Yes, half a day.
Hi, half a day, good morning. I just wanted to say great conference, CIS people, Dr. Austin Shelton. But I really want to give a shout out to the students. Of course, Megan, I was so fortunate to be able to work with her. But I see there are a lot of other students on the call. And I just want to say to you, you all have great opportunities being at UOG and other institutions that are like-minded. It's great that we have Build and we have NSF Includes. Although we're a small university and we sometimes run out of faculty that are available to be mentors or and help students with research, the small pool of faculty and administrators that we do have that volunteer to take students in the research labs and in our other projects are really outstanding. I think back when I was in college and I just didn't have these opportunities. And so I've got to say, you know, reach for it. And if you look at someone like Megan, you know, I put the story that UOG had, sorry, Megan, if I'm embarrassing you, on in the chat box. But Megan's story is one that I think should be shared widely because, you know, she, like a lot of you guys there, you have the ability. It's just that a lot of times we don't feel that we can do it. And sometimes we are not surrounded by people who encourage us. And so I'm so glad that you were on today to listen to people like Dr. Carlos Crespo, who has been one that has nurtured many of us. And so while it's a difficult world out there, and, you know, kudos to all of you for being here today and doing your best through this pandemic. You have bright futures ahead of you, and we're here to support you. Don't be afraid to reach out to us because we really believe that you can succeed, and you're our future and our future hopes. So congratulations, and have a great day and a great time. Yes, Kyle put imposter syndrome is real. We all feel that way, but you can do it. Definitely you can do it. And you hold on to those of us that will support you. So thank you very much, and congratulations, Megan, and all of you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Margaret Hattori Achima, who you may know is the Dean for the School of Health, for your words of encouragement. And I'm pretty sure that they are very much appreciated by not just our students, but everybody that's listening to you. And we also want to thank you for your efforts. You have been at the front lines battling this whole COVID-19 emergency, and you've worked tirelessly as well. And so we really appreciate all of the hard work that you've contributed towards this fight against the coronavirus. And Ania, I think we have another speaker.
Yes, I was told to call on Mike Wehmeyer. Is he here with us? Would you like to talk to us today? There we go. Half a day. Oh, I think you just need, there we go.
Okay. Well, thanks, Lauren, for calling me out. My name is Mike Wehmeyer. I am based in Honolulu, Hawaii at the National Marine Fisheries Services Pacific Island Regional Office in the Habitat Conservation Division. So a lot of my focus is on coral reef conservation work in the Pacific. I think one of the relevant roles that I play that it was might be something that people are interested in hearing more about is I co-coordinate what's called the Pacific Islands Managed and Protected Area Community. And it's a long-term capacity building program for managers in the Pacific. We work in terrestrial protected areas as well as marine protected areas. In Guam, CNMI, American Samoa, Hawaii, and then also the freely associated states. And I don't want to talk too much, but just wanted to highlight some of the direct linkages to Guam. In 2017, with the help of the Microenergy Conservation Trust, which is the co-coordinating entity of PIMPAC, we worked with the Guam Community College, and we did a conservation enforcement academy for 13 different officers from the freely associated states. And then over the past couple of years, I've been supporting some capacity building for environmental law by placing students and interns from the University of Hawaii with Guam's Deputy Attorney General Jessica Tuff to try to strengthen some of the laws and regulations protecting coral reefs in Guam. So I'll stop there.
Thank you. We're really happy to hear from you.
An amazing job with this online conference. Everything looks fabulous. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, you know, time flies when you're having fun. I didn't realize how fast this virtual networking session would run, but time is up. And so we're glad that we at least had the opportunity to speak to several students and Mr. Wehmeyer as well for your perspectives. We are going to continue on with the tradition of taking a group photo. So Phil and Miracle are going to lead us in what we need to do to take that photo.
So everyone just go ahead and turn on your cameras if you would like to be part of this. We do this every week if this is your first time joining us. And Miracle or Phil, you want to count us down?
While they're getting set up, we also want to remind everyone to please turn on their cameras so that when we take the photo, we don't end up with black screens, not unless that's intentional, considering what's going on outside of this discussion.
Can you turn off? Okay. All right, everyone, we're going to take two screenshots. So we have 2 pages of people. So we'll go the first one. 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, so that is pretty much our cue to wrap up. And of course, I want to say it was inspiring to hear about the work happening in all of your communities and the organizations around the world. And we hope you can stay connected and collaborate with some of the people that you've met here in this virtual networking session. And Anania is going to close things out as well. So on my behalf, thank you very much. Anania.
Yes, thank you guys again. Sujus Maasi to our panelists, to all of you for joining us and sticking around for our 30-minute virtual networking reception. This was our last one for this year, so thank you all again, and we'll see you all in April 2021.